So in this class, we are going to learn the Angular 14 version. And once we complete the Angular 14 version, I will show you how you can go and you can migrate to the Angular 15. And all the features which are has been came in the Angular 15, I will tell you what are the changes they have made in the Angular 15. But this class will be based on the our Angular 14. So as a developer, suppose I have experience in Angular and in company I got the project. Someone has assigned the Angular project. Now we require to do some setup to run the Angular application. Like if you work for the any, so like the .NET or any, so we need the Visual Studio and the other editor. In the JS frameworks, we require to do some checks before starting to work with Angular. So the first check will be related to the Node.js. So I will go and open the command prompt and I will write few commands means command to check the version of Node.js which is installed in my system. So I can write either node-v or node-version. Both will go and give me the same output. So if I will go and show you, so I will open the CMD and in this CMD, let me go to the some other drive. See it is. And I will write node-v. So I will get the 18.13.0 because I have newly installed this version of Node.js. And if I will type hyphen version, so I will get this out. And if you are not getting the version over here and you're getting like the internal or external command is not recognized, like suppose I have gone and typed over here node. So by mistake I have written something. So you are going to get same type of message. So you can see node is not recognized as internal external command. So when node will be not installed in your system, so you'll get this message. So you can go and you can install the Node.js from the Node.js official website. Once you'll check this, now you require to go and check the npm version. And once the Node.js, once you install by default, this npm will be get installed. We don't require to go and install it separately, which is npm. And this stands for Node Package Manager. And this help us to download include the third party libraries in our application. Suppose if you want to include the bootstrap, so you can go and with the help of command you can go and you can easily install the bootstrap in your application. Or we have the third other libraries like we have the .NET, we have the NuGet, and over here I need to check like npm -v and npm -version, and I will go and I will do this check also. So npm -v. So in my system, we have the 9.4.1 and npm -, and you can see it is over here. Now I will go and check the Angular CLI. So the third check will be the your Angular CLI, which is Angular command line phase. So with the help of command, you can go and you can create the directives or you can run the application. You can do many things with the help of command and it will be fast and you can give the more productivity to your organization. So this stands for command line interface. And before Angular 14, we used to write like ng version like this. So you used to get the Angular CLI version. But from the Angular 14, you don't require to specify this. If I go and write like this, ng version, so see what message I am going to get. You can see over here. So if you go and type health, so you'll get all the commands over here. You can see all the commands, whatever is necessary. And you can see over here, output Angular CLI version. We have to go and type over here. Either you can go and type this, or it's saying alias, you can type -v, means the V. So this is the, suppose this ngv is a shorthand, and this is the your full name. Now, if I have to go and check, so CLS, clear my screen, and ngv. So in this system, I have installed the Angular 15 version over here, but we'll work on the 14, the old way concept, and we'll see how we can go and we can migrate this to the Angular 15, because they have the changes, many changes in the Angular 15. We'll see how the file's name has been changed. So all that changes we'll see once we complete. So we'll see the difference, what changes they have made. So we can reorganize. If I'll go and start doing this one, so it will be the hard to go and take that one. And we have some of these default packages which help us to run our Angular application. So these three checks, as a experience, you require to go and check in your organization. Now, once you have checked and everything works fine, then you will go and you'll clone your application. Your company will go and give you the repo of the wherever they have kept the Angular application. So you'll go and you'll clone. So once you'll go and clone, you'll get the structure of the application, but you will not see node underscore modules file. In that, you are not going to see this folder, and this folder only is used to create all the libraries into it. If this is not present, you cannot be able to run your Angular application. So how I can go and I can install this in our Angular application? So just you have to go and type, you have to go to the root of the project. So wherever you have clone, you have to go to the root of the project. And suppose I have cloned in the D drive. So I will be like this. See, and suppose I have created my project name Angular 9 p.m. batch, and it will be like this. So over here, I need to go and to get node underscore modules folder. I need to get npm I is a shorthand, or you can go and you can write install. So what it will do, it will go and check the package.json file, and in this file we have two objects. One is the dependency, which will going to have the all the libraries of the dependency, and which are used to deploy on the prod. And then we have the dev dependency. So whatever the library this two object is containing, it will go and it will install all the libraries, because that library is required to run our Angular application. And once the installation is get completed, by default in your project structure, you will see that this node underscore modules folder is get included. Okay. So as a, if you're trying as an experience, so you'll going to get this error over here. So without the node underscore modules, you cannot go and run your Angular application. Once this is installed, so already you know how to run. So ngs short form or ng serve. So if you go and write this command, so it will by default it will not go and open your project, means in your browser. You have to go and copy the URL, which is the by default port is 4200. So you have to go and copy that URL, and you have to browse and go to the your favorite browser, and you have to go and paste that URL in the URL address bar, and that will go and up your application. But I want to open by default, so I can go and write like ngs hyphen o is the shorthand, or ngs hyphen open. So once you will write this command, it will go and it will open by default in your browser, whichever the browser is by default in your system. it will go and it will run the application on the 4200 port. Now suppose two developers are working on the same virtual machine. Like suppose you and your colleague is working on the for the same client and they are using the same virtual machine and your friend has logged in before you. So he started using this 4200 port. Now you'll go and you'll start and you'll write ngs-o. So you're going to get a message that already this port has been used. So before we used to write and change the port manually, but nowadays it will ask the question, would you like to change the port? So let me show over here. I will show that this scenario. So if you go and select yes, so it will go and it will create a combination of 4 or 5 or 6 digit port and it will go and it will run on the that port. And suppose if you have closed and again if you are going to try to run your project, so again it will ask the code if your friend is still working on the 4200 port. Otherwise, if he has closed and you have closed your application and suppose if there is a scenario that you want to work half an hour more, some trying to solve some bug. So if you'll go and try to run your application and your friend has closed the project, so by default, it will go and it will run on the 4200 port. So this is the mean the basic of the static to work with the Angular. This is the basic one. Now you have the idea about the in currently in market we have the two JS which are mostly widely used. One is the Angular and the other one is the React. So let's see the difference between the Angular and the React. Because in an interview, they will ask you the questions. If you suppose if you are told that I have experience on both Angular and React, so they can go and they can ask, okay, tell me the difference between Angular and the React. So Angular is a framework and your React is a library. Okay. And let's first talk about the framework. So as we know, the framework has almost everything will be inside that. So suppose for API integration, suppose I have created the API and I have to go and integrate the API. So what we require to do, we require to go and install. Already there is a HTTP module, HTTP client. Module is already there inside the Angular framework. We don't have to go and install this separately. Suppose you have to go and create the forms. So for forms, we have the two ways to create the forms, or you can say the two approaches we have in the Angular to create the forms. One is the template driven forms. We'll see when we go and cover this one, we'll see in details. So template driven forms, and then we have the reactive forms. Okay. And then for routing, we have the router module. So already this present inside the framework. Only for some libraries you have to go and you have to install from the third party or from outside of the framework. Almost everything will be present. But in the case of library, if I have to go and take these three as an example in the case of library, and I will go over here and I will go and for suppose for API integration, I will go and if I have to do in the React. So React itself is a library. So for everything other party libraries, if I have to do any work, I have to go and install libraries separate. So for API integration, I have to go and the famous is the Axios library which you use to integrate the API. If you talk about how we can go and create the forms, so we have to go and install the Formic library, if I have to go and work with the routing, so I have to go and install the React router. So if you see, for these three things, we have installed separately the three libraries. But in the case of Angular, almost everything will be inbuilt. We don't have to install separately a package. But in the case of library, we have to go and we have to install the separate packages, because Angular itself is a library. So it don't have all the packages built in. So we have to go and you have to install this one over here. Now, if you are working on Angular, it's fine. But if you are not working on Angular and you are trying to get jobs on Angular, so you have to go before, if you are before joining, you have to ask, because in market we have the two version of Angular. One is the Angular JS, and the second one we have is the Angular, in which we have the version from 2 to currently till November we have the 15. And as we know, if from every 6 months they are going to release one new version. So the latest one is the 15, and maybe in the next coming month it will go and it will release the 16 version. Except you don't see, except Angular 3 will be not there, because there was some issue in the versioning of router in Angular 2. So they have escaped this Angular 3. Otherwise, you'll get and you will see Angular 2, 4, 5, 6. Every Angular we are going to see. So we are going to cover this Angular, not this Angular JS, because now these are the legacy. So the official team also not going to support this Angular JS application. So we are going to cover. So suppose if you have attended any interview, so you have to ask, because lots of applications are still on Angular JS, and these are totally different from. There is no similarity. Totally, not a single line of similarity is there. All totally different. So we are going to cover on this one. And this Angular JS was on the type JavaScript, and this Angular is totally based on the our TypeScript. So the TypeScript is the superset of JavaScript. So whatever the code you are writing in the JavaScript is valid for TypeScript. So the only difference is they have some of the advanced features, which we'll see. Some of the concept of the TypeScript we'll see. But mostly if you want to go and code in the routing path, so you have to go and business logic. So you have to go and you have to learn the TypeScript, because TypeScript also changes. They are also coming with a different version every time. So you can go and you can check that. Now suppose I will go over here. Now let's start creating the Angular application. So as we have installed the Angular CLI, we'll get a command of ng. And with the help of this, we can go and we can use the create the components, we can create the project, we can run the project. All this we can do with the help of this ng command. Now, suppose I have to go and create the Angular application. So I will write like ng new, and over here the project name. So this is a simple command to create the project. Suppose for example, I have to go and create project. So I will go and create like ng new, and suppose I'm running this at 9 a.m. So 9 p.m. So I will create like 9 p.m. batch. And if I'll go and execute, so it will ask two questions. Would you like to add routing or the CSS? So routing you can add, not an issue. Otherwise, you can go and you can add in the middle also. Once you learn all the other concept, when you go and learn the routing concept, at that time also you can learn. It depends on you if you want to run right now. So you can include or you can include later. We have the command to include. Now, if I'll go and create inside this, so see, it will ask the questions. Would you like to add Angular routing? So you can select yes or no. I will go and select no, because right now I don't want to add the routing, because we are not going to use the routing. All the things will go and run on localhost 4200 only. Once we'll come to the topic of this Angular routing, at that time we'll go and we'll include that one. So I will select no. Then it will ask which style sheet format would you like to use. So it depends on you how strong you are in this all CSS. So this is the normal CSS, and then we have the SCSS, SAS, and less. So whichever you are comfortable, just come with the down or the up arrow key, and just you have to select this one. So I always select the normal one because I don't want to go with this all the advanced one. So I will select this normal, and once I will go and press, it will go and it will create the this is the default structure of our Angular application. If you can see, this is the default structure, and it depends on your internet connectivity and the system process. It will go and it will take the time, because see, by default it will go and create a component, it will go and create a module, and all these files you can see under these are the under the src file is the source file, and out of that you can see all this git ignore, we have the readme package angular.json, all these are creating. And when you go and create the application locally, so that node underscore modules will be there. But when you go and clone from the prod, it will be not there, because this is the largest file of the Angular application. So we don't deploy that. You will see that it will be ignored in git ignore. If you open this file, you will see that we have written by default it will be there, or you can include that. This should when we go and commit the code, this file should be get ignored, because that is the largest file. We cannot go and deploy it on our server. So you can see now it has installed. So it depends on your internet connectivity how and the system processor. So I am using the i5. So you will see my application will go and run fast as compared to the other processor. So let me go and solve this. So we have created. Now we want to go to the that project root. So cd, and then I will write Angular 9 p.m. batch. Okay, we have gone. And now I want to open this project by default in the our VS Code. So you have to write code space dot, and then you'll press the enter. By default, it will go and it will open over here. And you can see locally when you go and create, node underscore modules will be there. But when you go and create on your application, means cloning from the Git, it will not going to. And we have all this SRC, under SRC we have all the file. We'll discuss all this file. How only we change in the SRC only. We don't do most modification on this one, because this is the by default setting. Sometimes we require to do some settings, so we only touches this. And if you can see in the git ignore, we have this node underscore module. So whenever you will go and commit, see, I am committed with the master. If I will go and commit any changes, this node underscore modules will be not going to be get committed. And if we expand, you can see lots of libraries will be there inside this. We cannot do this commit. You can see lots of library will be there. This is the largest file in the folder in our Angular application. Okay, so now we have opened, and this VS Code give us a terminal from where you can go and run the application, and you can go and we can do everything through this terminal. So I don't want to go and navigate with the two screen. So I will go and close this command prompt. And now I have to go and first let's execute, run this application. So I will go and do ng terminal, and by default it will be in the PowerShell. So sometimes the command prompt that command will not work in the our PowerShell. So you can go and you can select from this drop down the command prompt, or through the command you can go and change like cmd and cls. Now I have to run this application. So I told you either you can run ngs or ng serve. So it will go and it will create the localhost 4200. So you have to go and copy that and in the URL address bar. So let me do this scenario, and then I will show you how we can go and we can do ng's s-o. So it will within 1 minute, you can see it is started generating. So this is the power of the processor. If you use the latest one, everything it will see within the second it has built the application. And you can see the message Angular live development server is listening on localhost 4200. Open your browser on this one. So we need to go and copy this, and any of the browsers, suppose I have gone and open on the page. So I have to go and I have to click. So we will get this UI. So we have to, every time we have to go and copy this and you have to paste. I don't want to do this. I want it should open by default in the browser, whichever the default browser I have. So to stop this Angular Live Development Server, you have to press Ctrl plus C. So you can see now it has terminated. And to check, if I'll go and refresh this page, so I will get some blank. You can see like this. That means our Angular application is not running over here. So let me put CLS, and now I will write NGS-O. And in my system, I have the default browser, which is Chrome. I will put Chrome as a default browser. So by default, it will go and open. I will not go and do anything. Currently, we have done in the browser. So let me close this browser and see. Once I will press the enter, it will start generating all the bundles. And this will be, you can see by default. By default, it is getting loaded. We have not done anything. And Angular team, by default, they will go and show this UI. And this UI is coming from, if you go and expand this SRC, and the app, which is I told by Angular by default, it will go and create a component, and it will go and it will create a module by default for you. So you can go and you can check this. And if I go and just they have written everything in the app.component.html, you can see. If I'll go and delete all this, suppose if I have gone and selected and delete and save, and once you'll save, you don't require to refresh the page. All this will be done by the this compiler. And over here, okay. So our now the port is this 42. So now you can see we don't have anything over here in the UI because we have deleted. Now if I have to go and display, so in the app.component or modules, they have declared by default a title. And in this title, they are assigning this value. So suppose instead of this title, I will go and write the Angular, save, and I want to display to the body. So I will copy this and I will go to the app.component.html and I will paste over here. Save. And once you'll go to the UI, you'll see you're going to get the Angular over here. Now let's first understand about the component and then we'll go and deeply start the. So let me go to the our index.html. Just I'm doing these changes to this title, nothing else. Save. And let's come to the notepad. First understand about the component and then we'll go and we'll see how we can go and you can create the. So now suppose we have a requirement to create a component. So Angular CLI provide the command to create the component. So to create component, we have the command of ng gc and your component name. And in this component name, so suppose this G stand for G is the shorthand, but this stand for generate, and then C stands for component. And now, if I have to go and create the component, so suppose if I have to go and create the home component, so I will go and create like ng g c, and the name of my component will be the home. So what it will do, it will go and first create a home folder. So this will be the name of the folder. So always it will go and it will create the folder with the name of the component. And inside the folder, it will go and it will create a 4 files. So, and it will follow a naming convention. So if it is creating the component, so it will go and include the component. If it's creating the directives, it will include the directives. If creating the pipes, so it will go and it will include the pipes. So let's see about the component, and as we'll proceed, we'll see how this following the naming convention. So it will go and it follow a naming convention. So suppose over here, if I have to go and create a component, so it will be like this: home dot component dot html, and then home dot component dot cs. So whatever the cs you have selected, so based on that, it will go and it will select the cs extension. So I have selected the normal, so it will be like normal css, and then it will going to have home dot component dot ps, which will be a typescript file, and the finally it will go and it will create home dot component dot spec.tsy. Now let's understand about the what this file is for. So when you talk about the HTML, so this will create the structure of the content. How we want to structure of the content. How we want the content to be displayed. So you are going to create in HTML. You are going to create the structure. In CSS, you are going to give look and feel. So you are applying some animations and you are applying some coloring, text, format. All you are going to write the CSS with the help of the classes or the ID. Generally, we are using the class and ID to write the CSS. And this .ts file is used to write your business logic. So from the API, you are getting the data and the logic will be written in .ts file, how we want to go and bind to the user. When the user will come to that UI, so what are the data and how it will go and it will display. And this is writing for unit testing. So suppose you have implemented some functionality in .ts file. So it is nowadays it is mandatory before assigning to the QA. We have to do the unit testing for this one. Otherwise, it will be not acceptable from the QA. So always whatever the functionality you have implemented, you have to go and you have to write the unit testing for this one. So this is your component. So you can see how the component is getting created. So it will going to have the component name and then the component and then the extension for what files we are creating. So this way you go and you will create. Now suppose if I have to go and create. So currently our Angular application is running over here. You can see compile successful and it's running. So I don't want to go and stop this. So to create all the components and any other activity, I will go and open another terminal. So just you have to go and click on this plus sign. So it will open another terminal for us and you can navigate like this. Once you click on node, so it will go and where the our Angular application is running, and we have opened the other terminal where you can go and you can create the component or add module service, whatever you can go and you can add through the other component. So I will go and I will make over here command prompt. From PowerShell, I will go and make the command prompt. And I will go and write ng, g, c, and home. So in real time, when we go and work, so everything will be structured inside a folder. So, so you'll see that when we go and create the component, so it will be like inside the components folder. So like components, okay. And inside that, you're going to have lots of components like home, like about us. We have any other, like we have the suppose if you are working with the depends on which domain you are working. If you are working creating the application related to the education, so it can have the courses, it can have the career, It can have the contact us. Okay. So this way you can go and you can create the over here. So now if I have to go and create, so same command I will go and change like this ng g c and the components and then home. So it will go and it will first create the component folder of components and then the folder of home, and then inside that it will go and it will create the four files. Now I don't want to go and create the spec file because we are not going to use this spec file. So if I want to skip, so there is a command flag we have to use. So hyphen hyphen skip hyphen paste is equal to true. Okay. So it will go and it will spec your, it will not go and it will create the spec.ts file. It will just go and create the two files. Now if you want to just go and before creating all the files, you want to check what are the files it will going to create. So what you can do, we have the command for that also. So for that we have the command like ng g c components, suppose home, and hyphen hyphen drive run. So this hyphen hyphen drive line flag, it will just show what are the files is getting created. So let's first see with this command. So you can see it has given that the node hyphen hyphen drive run option means no changes were made. So you can see there is no component folder is created or no this one. So just it's giving you that what are the files it will going to create. So it will go and create the HTML spec TS, TS, and it will update in your app.module.ts file because that is the file where our Angular compiler will go and check what are the components has been created, what are the modules has been created, and that will be get served with the help of the webpack. So you can see with the help of hyphen hyphen dry run, you can go and you can check what are the files created. Now I want to escape the our .ts file. So I will go and I will use this command. And to use this command, copy, and then I'll go over here and I will write hyphen hyphen skip test is equal to 2. Once I will go and press the enter. So you can see now it has not created that spec.ts file. You can see over here, it has created only the three files and it has updated in the app.module.ts. You can manually also create these files, but suppose you forgot to update in the app.modules, so it will go and it will throw the exception. So our Angular CLI is providing us this such much beautiful command to do all the things. So why should we do manually? We should do with the help of the command. So now you can see it has created the components, and inside the component is it created the folder of home, and then inside this we have all these three files, which is home.component.ts, which is home.component.html, and home.component.ts file. Okay, and now I want to go and display this component to the browser. So if I'll go and do over here, refresh, so we are only able to see the Angular because in our app.component we have this title, and we if in the component by default this paragraph will be get created and it will be like homeworks, but it will not going to be this. I am not able to see this one homeworks on the our UI. So how I can go and I can display that home to the our UI? So whenever you go and create any of the component in the home.ts, we have a selector over here, and the selector will have a name, and the selector name always it should be the unique. If you are creating any number of components, so all the component selector names should be unique. We cannot have a duplicate name. And if you see, it is get prefix with app over here. And if I go and check this in the angular.json, so you can see prefix with app. So they have given over here the setting. That's why whenever you go and create any component, it will always going to have the prefix with app. But this is not mandatory. If you want, you can keep this. Otherwise, you can go and you can change this name. But the selector name should be unique. So I have kept only the home. I will save this. And now I have to go and display whatever has been in this HTML. So suppose I have to go and this is the my main component which is getting served to our browser. So I will go to this HTML and I will write like HR, which will go and create a line. And over here, I need to use the selector as a tag. So like home, and it will going to have the closing and the save this. And now if I go to the UI, so now I can see home works. And if you can see in the app.component.ts, we have selector which is app. And every JS, we have a only one index.html file, which is get to serve to our browser because our browser understand only the HTML, right? So if you go and open this, so in body, you can see it is the selector we have used app root. So whatever the design we are going to create in the this folder, means in this app.component.html, this only will get served to our body, and you can see this root will be get replaced with the body. So in app.component.html only, you have to go and you have to design your page. So suppose if we have to go and create a page, so you're going to have, suppose this is your page, and in this page, suppose I am going to have this, suppose this is my body, and this is my body, which is going to have the app component. So this is suppose your app component is. Now I have to go and I have to design this one like this will be my header, and over here suppose this is my sidebar. Over here suppose this is my body, and this is the main content where we are going to display over here. Suppose over here you can have the dashboard, something like that. You can go and you can displaying some update news if you want to display. So this section and this section, whatever you'll go and navigate to the tab, so that content will be get written over here. So now we can see this is work as a our parent component, and inside the parent component we have created four components to display. This is work for the header. So this will go and work for a header, and this will go and work for a footer, and this will go and work for a dashboard, and this is going to work as a sidebar. This is how it is getting work, and I will show you when we will go and create the project. I will show you how we can go and we can make the app component.html as your parent component, and under that you will go and you will create arrange our other components over here. Okay, so this is you can understand an overview of how the page will going to look like on the our browser. So let me close this now. We don't require it. So we are displaying this component over here, and now if you'll go and see, we are able to see the component. So this is the component, and the component will always going to have the HTML, CSS, and TypeScript file. And when we'll go and work in the real time, so it will ask for the writing the unit test case also. So you have to go and you have to create include that spec.ts file as well to work with our unit testing. So this is an overview. We'll go and we'll see how we can go and create the nested component, how we can go and we can reuse our component. Like one component will be created and it can be used for the at the multiple places. So we'll see more about the component. Just an overview was there. When you go and create the component, how many files will be get created, and how we can go and we can display to our browser body using the selector. So this now the main topic is start about the data binding. So in every application, we have to pass the value data from your wherever you are writing the logic from the your UI, and from UI, like suppose we have gone and click on any of the button. So how that will be get click and that will go and do the operation for whatever the purpose, like you have done to check the login credentials. So it will go and it will verify the login credential. If you fill some forms and if you want to go and submit that data into the database, so it will go and it will submit your all the data into the database. And then in Angular, we have the two way of binding, one way binding and the two-way binding. So generally, two-way bindings are used with forms when you have the existing data, and when you click on edit, so a model or dialog box will be get generated, and that dialog box will going to have the existing record. And when you go and modify that data, and when you click on save, so it will go and it will modify the data in the our database. So let's see about the data binding. So we have seen about the component overview. We'll see more on the components. Now let's see about the data binding in Angular. So I will give an overview. We'll start on this data binding in Angular. So we have the two approaches. One is the one-way data binding. Means it will flow in only one direction. One is data binding. And then we have the two-way data binding. And in this one-way data binding, we have the two way, like suppose the value will pass from the component. And when I will talk about the component, that means it is the .ts file to view. And view means you can say view template means .html. Okay. So in this we have string interpolation, and in this we have the double opening and double closing, and then we have the property binding, and the syntax is square bracket. We'll see more examples on that. And then we have the view, means it the value will pass like on click of button or on blur to component .ts. And in this it comes about the event binding, and it have the syntax of this parenthesis. So in string interpolation and the property binding, the value will pass from the .ts to view, and in the view it will pass from the .html to .ts. Like suppose for example we have the click event. So when you go and click on the button, so some method will be get executed which will go and pass over inside this double quote. We'll see on the example. Just this is the theoretical part. When it comes to the two-way data binding, so while working with the one-way data binding, we don't require any models. Without including any model, we will go and we'll work on all these three type of binding. But when you come to the two-way data binding, we require to include the forms module. Otherwise, you will get the error. And that comes from the library, which is @angular /forms, and it will be done inside the app.js. module.ps. Okay, and then after that, once you include the forms module, we require to go and put inside the imports array, and you have to put all the modules whatever you go, you have to go and put inside the this imports array. If you don't import this forms module and you try to work, you'll get the error. So first of all, we'll see what the error we are getting, and then we'll go and try to use the forms module, and we'll see how we can go and resolve the issue. And the syntax for 2A is the, you can say, the combination of property and the event binding. So square bracket, and then we have the parenthesis, then we have the ng model, and whatever the value we are going to bind. So suppose in data is the property and which I am assigning some value. So that will be get bind to this ng model. So we'll see with the examples how the data is flowing. So in the case of two-way data binding, the data is flowing from component to view and view to component. Vice versa, the data is going to flow in the case of our two-way data binding. So this was the theoretical part of the data binding. We'll go and we'll see more in the practical in the our tomorrow class. Okay. So do you have any doubt in this?